And for more on this, we're now being joined by Adil Shetty, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of bankbazaar.com and co-chair of the FICCI FinTech Committee. He's joining us live from Mumbai. Welcome to the show, Mr. Shetty.
Hi, Resha. Good to be here.
Likewise. In your dealings with millions of consumers' personal finances, in your opinion, what should the government be concerned about and focusing on?
A couple of things. So what we find is India is a very aspirational country. When we do our annual aspiration index survey at Bank Bazaar, we find that owning a home ends up being the highest aspiration people have. The second is saving and paying for their children's education. That tends to be, again, one of the top three aspirations. So I feel we're a country where we have a lot of aspiration, we have a lot of demand. I think the requirement of the day is to be able to offer access to the right products and services to these consumers. So I think the government has a big job on its hands to create the right infrastructure. Because in order to offer products, services, whether it's digital, whether it's offline, not only do we need physical infrastructure, but we also need the digital infrastructure. You know, the government in the last 15 years has done a fantastic job with Aadhaar, with eKYC, with video KYC. But now the time has come, right, where we need to build even greater physical and digital infrastructure that's going to satisfy the aspirations of millions and millions of Indians who have demands out there.
Right. For better understanding, Mr. Shetty, as one of India's largest online marketplaces for financial products, what have been your major findings vis-a-vis consumers?
So, from the consumer side, right, we find that consumers are very, very keen on ensuring that they have their own home in place. I think that's one of the reasons that we see a lot of people still sticking to the old tax regime, because there are deductions available for homes over there. We find that consumers today are very aware of the benefits of mutual fund. I think a good job has been done of creating financial literacy and education about how people can use SIPs. So a lot of the savings that people are building towards saving for children's education, which is the top aspiration, is coming via the SIP mutual funds. I think consumers today realize that insurance is a necessity, that without health and life insurance, they're leaving themselves exposed, especially with what COVID has done in terms of increased healthcare costs. A lot of consumers, I feel, are also sticking to the old tax regime now, because they're able to claim deductions under, under insurance, under life insurance, and some of these schemes. And I think the time has come for giving added incentives for consumers to move to the new tax regimes. So I think we live in a very aspirational society, and they want to be able to access, and they want to be able to use these products in the same way that they're using e-commerce, in the same way that they're using food ordering. So it's a society which is very young and is becoming very, very digitally and tech savvy, and wants to be able to, self-service, use the latest in technology to manage their personal finances.
Right, Mr. Shetty, you do speak of how people are sticking to the old regime, and you listed out the aspirations of the consumers. Just to follow up on that, and my last question to you, what steps should the government take to promote consumer protection?
So there are two things I think the government is doing to promote consumer protection. One side is regarding the laws, and the other side is regarding education. In terms of the laws, right, a lot of new laws have been coming out which are pro-consumer in order to protect the consumer. I think all of us have heard of the digital privacy law. So right. The digital privacy law came out a year ago. It clearly says what are the rules for companies which collect your data, how they need to clearly specify to you how the data is being used. So the digital privacy law, I think, was a step forward in terms of consumer protection. There's been a lot of good work the Reserve Bank of India has done around digital lending. So there were new digital lending guidelines because there were a lot of complaints that there were these unauthorized apps with Chinese influence where there was predatory lending. So the RBI came out with very strong rules on digital lending, wherein all apps have to be registered with the banks. They have to be visible on the bank site. Their names has to be visible. Very clean key fact sheets in terms of what is the lending rate, what are you signing up for, what is the fees. Everything has to be clearly displayed. So I would say the government has done a good job in terms of bringing out new laws. Obviously, these need to be further improved. So, for example, for digital privacy, rules need to be notified. We're awaiting that. There's a new Digital India Act, which is expected in the next few quarters, which will replace the 20-year-old income tax, the 20-year-old Information Technology Act of 2000. However, I feel we need to do, Aisha, a lot more in terms of financial literacy. I think your channel is doing some great work on this. But is it possible for us to create personal finance education as a subject in school, as a subject in university? It's one of these really important things that everyone needs to know because it's their aspiration, right? How do you start saving for a home in your 20s? How do you start saving for your child's education in your 30s? What is the challenge if you don't own insurance, right? What can go wrong? Why do you need an emergency fund? So I'm really keen to see, right, how the government can create a larger thrust in terms of financial education and literacy. Because I think when you talk about consumer empowerment or consumer protection, yes, there are the laws which protect you when something goes wrong, right? But what about creating these as subjects that we teach school children and college-going students, which I think could really help our country become much more prudent at managing our finances.
Right, Mr. Shetty, just to add to that, according to latest data, only 27% of the population possess this crucial skill of financial literacy. But thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on World Business Watch with your insights.
Thank you.